it is. Okay, you're hopefully finishing up. So I have this stack of quizzes here that is just so, look at how thick this is. This is from all of my classes. And it's just too thick. And so I decided to declare a moratorium on collecting quizzes until I dealt with those. So I have some to give back to you. I just haven't graded them. So normally I'm pretty good about it. I'm going to blame it on the time change that things got off this week. So tomorrow I'll get those, but for this quiz, we're just going to grade it together as a group, and you're going to just know that you did it perfectly. So take a minute and finish up. If you're still working on it, go ahead and finish things up. If you're worried, don't fret. It's going to be okay. And I'm going to check on one thing, and then we'll get going. Okay, let's see how we did. So you can see mine looks terribly pixelated. It's mainly because I take a photo and then I have it change it to, I don't know what, it's just doing something, but it's all right. You can sort of see what's going on. So here's the way I would do this. Hopefully this is what you did. You work your way over from the left to the right, and you say, okay, this is the very first of the markers in group 1. So we put a line there, and we're going to give B all of that stuff. Then you move over to the second group of markers. Notice that I've got mine I colored them blue, even though you can't see what they say. We skip the B because we've already given B something over there. And we go on to C. This is the first of the markers in group 2. But we have to work our way backwards to the previous C marker. And so C is going to get all of that stuff. I'll write down my answers below in just a minute. Now I'm working over a little bit further. We're going to skip C and B because we've already given them stuff. And we go to the first of the markers in this group, and that's just A, which I know is somewhat arbitrary because they're both there, but the first one, the one on the left, we'll just do that, is A. So put a box around this, and that's going to go to A. And then since the only person left is D, we give D everything from the right over to his or her last marker. And so this is going to D. So let me copy down what we have here so you know what the answers should be. Alice is going to get 12, 13, 14, and 15, or just 12 through, and 16. B, Bianca is going to get 1 through 4. I think that's sufficient, isn't it? We all understand what that means. 7, 8, and 9 for Carla, and Dana gets 17 through 20. The leftovers are 5, 6, 10, and 11. So how'd you do? How did I do? You did okay? You could put a check mark there. You could put a smiley face there. You could even do this, 100% A+. You didn't get 100? You did okay? Well, you can fix your error, and then it becomes 100% A+. Isn't that exciting? Okay, very good. I've passed around a piece of paper. So everyone should have one of these. I just want to make sure everyone has one. We're going to use, I didn't want you to have to copy all this stuff down off the computer. I just thought it would be easier in this form. Give me a second, I'll find mine, and then we'll talk about what this represents. So it's just going to take me a minute to figure out where this is. Let's see, Word. Method of sealed bids, there it is. Ah, that looks nice, doesn't it? Beautiful. Okay, so that's what we're interested in. What is going on here? Just a minute. Why does it do this? I don't understand the difference. Okay, well, okay. So we'll start off with some PowerPoint, then we'll get to this thing really quick here. And so usually we're going to find that things are divisible either discretely or a continuous situation. A discrete fair division is like dividing up House seats for the House of Representatives. That's a discrete fair division. We're trying to fairly allocate seats in the House of Representatives. The apportionment problem is like this. The candy on this, that's discrete, meaning that you can't cut them. I know you could cut an outrageous bar in half, but we're going to pretend that you don't want to. Okay, so certainly the suckers, they would be hard to cut in half. So you don't want to cut them in half. So usually that's going to be harder than if you have a continuous fair division. When my mother died, she had nothing. Well, not that she had nothing. We had sold everything she had because she had a stroke and went into a nursing home. And so me and my brother and sister sold everything. We kept some of it, like a few sentimental items. But basically, when she finally did pass away, she just had money. That was very easy to divide up. You just say, okay, divide it into 3 piles. You get this pile, you get this pile, and I'll take the last pile. That's it. So continuous fair division, continuous just means that there's infinitely divisible, whatever it is that you're to divide up. It's much harder when someone passes away unexpectedly and they leave stuff that is indivisible. For example, the little scenario that I have here, which is a very simplified version of something that could happen, and that is someone passes away and leaves their three children, or sorry, there's four children there. Four children, three items, three big ticket items. One of them is a cabin, another is a Rolls Royce, and another is a Picasso painting. We'll come back to this momentarily, but this is the sort of problem that occurs, especially when you're dealing with inheritance or dividing up stuff after, like my daughter is currently living in Boston, actually Cambridge, in Boston with four roommates. So 5 girls living in a huge apartment. When they, at the end of the year, which will be in I think September, they're going to have to decide what to do. And if they split up, there are some common items that they've purchased together maybe. I'm sure that they won't do, well, I don't know, maybe I'll send this to them as a suggestion. But this is one method you could use to divide up stuff. Maybe you're living in an apartment now over here in MVNU, and you and your roommates have purchased collectively some stuff, and you're going to have to divvy it up at the end of the 4 years or 3 years or however long you're here. So that's what this next method is good for. This was originally proposed by a couple of mathematicians around 1948. In fact, this Bronislaw Naster is so pivotal in writing or coming up with this that oftentimes this is referred to as the Naster inheritance procedure. So this is the inheritance method that basically takes stuff that is indivisible and makes it so that we can actually divide it up in some fair way. So let's go over the method. The method is as follows. You start off by telling everyone you're going to have to come up with a dollar amount. How much is all your stuff worth? So maybe you're in your apartment with 3 other people, and so all 4 of you have to decide for yourselves how much do you think the Nintendo Switch or what is the PS5, whatever it is worth. How much is the large screen TV worth? How about the futon? What about, like each of the items that you have in that apartment, you have to decide for yourself how much they're each worth, and that's what's going to be called your bid. So your bid is how much you think each item is worth. We're going to assume that these are done privately, so they're like sealed until everyone has made their bids. That way, one person wouldn't be influenced by the other people's bids to try to cheat or, game the system, so to speak. Like if you know what other people's bids are, you could actually get more than your fair share in this. So so everyone submits their bids in sealed envelope, whatever. So here's the thing that you're looking at. This is exactly what you're looking at. This is example 3.9, settling grandma's estate. So you have a cabin, you have a Rolls Royce, and you have a Picasso. Apparently grandma was somewhat eccentric, living in a cabin with a Picasso and a Rolls Royce. Anyway, the first thing that we're going to do whenever you approach a fair division problem like this is to figure out what each person thinks a fair share is worth. So you'll notice on my little piece of paper here, and we'll go back and forth from the paper to this, it says, what does each player consider to be a fair share? We'll come back to that top right next to the chart where it says who gets what. I think you can probably guess, but let's go ahead and figure out what each person thinks is a fair share. Now this is the, I see I didn't really leave you enough room here, kind of unfortunate. So you know what, I should probably suffer just like you're suffering, so I'll go to this. So I'll use this and I will do my best to fill it in because this is what I printed up for you. So what I will do, let's see, is I will, to figure out what each person thinks a fair share is, I will put a total. I think there's enough room here, isn't there? Total? Yeah, that's not bad. So we're going to have the total here. The total for art is $540,000. So let's just talk about art for a minute, and then I'm going to let you figure out the other 3 people. Art takes a look at the cabin. He consults an expert appraiser. He thinks he thinks that the cabin is worth $220,000. He goes and looks at the Rolls Royce, and he thinks, well, that's worth $40,000. But when it comes to the Picasso, Art, probably because of his name, thinks the Picasso is worth more than anything. That Picasso is almost priceless because it's this thing that I've seen at Grandma's house every time I visited her. And so, to me, the Picasso is worth $280,000. Notice that Art thinks the Picasso is worth more than any of the other kids. And that's just Art's value system. We talked about this whole idea of a value system. And remember, value system doesn't mean whether or not we're in favor of abortion or against abortion or gun laws or whatever. It's values in terms of what we think things are worth. What do I think this clicker is worth? What do I think this stapler is worth? I think it's worth a lot. You can see I've got my name on it. Anyway, so what do we think things are worth? That's our value system, at least in the context of fair division. So Art in total thinks everything is worth $540,000. Now, bear in mind that Art is going to have to share this $540,000 if Art is correct about the $540,000. He's going to have to share the $540,000 with his siblings, and so he's going to have to divide that up 4 ways. So to get Art's fair share, what is a fair share to Art? Well, a fair share to Art is 130, wait, did I do this right? 5,000? I'm supposed to, you divide 540,000 by 4. $135, right? Do it on your calculator. Make me feel good about my mental arithmetic. See, sometimes my brain works and sometimes it doesn't. You got 135,000? Thank you. I feel better about my life now. Okay, 135. All right, what else we got here? Okay, you're going to do the same thing for Betty, Carla, and Dave. I'll get you started, though, for Betty. When you add up Betty, you find that Betty thinks that everything is worth $520,000. Maybe I should draw a little line here. So Betty thinks everything's worth $520,000. Divide that by 3. And does it come out easy? It comes out to $130,000, doesn't it? Yeah. Or you're dividing by 4. Yeah, because there's 52 cards in a deck of cards, and that's 13 cards of each suit. Easy way to remember, 52 divided by 4. Okay, you do the other 2, and we'll see how we feel about this. Oh, yeah, find a random. All right, we're seeing how we're doing. Let's randomize here. Jack, did you add up Carla's total here? No. But you know how to add it up, don't you? You would just punch it into your calculator and add it up. All right, excellent. So Jack tells us what we should do. Lauren, did you add those up?
I did.
You did? What did you get?
I got 492,000.
492? Wait, some people are disputing? It's okay? That's the total. Yeah, so this is the total. We're gonna get to the fair share, not to worry. You agree. Excellent. Jack agrees. All right, we're moving on though. Sam, did you divide that by 4? Did you get that?
Yeah, I got 492.
And what did you get when you divided it by 4?
I got 120.
All right, so Carla thinks things are worth a little less than Betty and Art think they're worth. All right, wait, Alize's not here. Am I recording for Alize? Yeah, we are. Good. Sydney's here, though. Sydney, can you add up Dave? How much does Dave think everything's worth?
440,000.
Wow, Dave thinks things aren't worth much at all. All right, onward. Adele, can you divide that by 4? Yeah, nice, 110. Okay, we're going to come back to those numbers momentarily. For now, though, let's just point out that all we did here is we figured out how much people thought things were worth. They, like, for example, the Rolls Royce, Dave thinks it's worth $52,000. He's got it in, maybe he just has sentimental value, feels good about the Rolls Royce because he remembers driving around it with Granny. But anyway, whatever the situation is, they have their own value system, and we've just gotten the total and what they think everything is worth. So theoretically, if we gave Art $135,000, Art should be happy. Because if he was honest, he thought that the total would be 540, 1/4 of that is this. If we gave Betty $130,000, theoretically, she should be happy. Same thing goes with Carla and Dave, even though they devalued a lot of the stuff there. So that's the first step of the Naster inheritance procedure after you get your bids. So you get your bids, then you come up with the fair share that everyone thinks. Next, let's see who gets what. So who gets what? Well, this is like an auction. The stuff goes to the highest bidder. That's the rule. So the highest bidder for the cabin looks like is Betty. So I'll just highlight Betty there. I'll write her down over there in a minute. Let's see if you can identify the others. Gracie, who gets the Rolls Royce? Who's the high bidder for the Rolls Royce? Dave is. Very good. So Dave gets the Rolls Royce. And then Alex Corson, what about the Picasso? Who's going to get that? Yes, seems appropriate, doesn't it? So let's do this. What is this? Not that. There we go. So the cabin is going to Betty. The Rolls Royce goes to Dave. And the Picasso goes to Art. All right, so far so good. Now I've got this little table here, and I'll put a table like this on your quiz on Monday, and I'll also have one on the next test, whenever that is, the 5th of April? Is that when I said? I think it is. The week after Easter. Oh, don't worry, I'll give you a practice test and all that. You know how it goes. You'll all get hundreds. Anyway, Art. So what I'll do is I'll have a table like this, but you won't have a table like this when you're doing your homework, because Lumen is not as kind as I am, apparently. But anyway, you can make your own table, though. So you've got each of the people here. This fair share just indicates what they think a fair share is. We're going to put the items that they got, and then we're going to have to do this math over here that I'll explain in just a minute. Let's do fair share first. So Art thinks that everything is worth $135,000. Just a minute. Why is this so? Make it skinnier. See if that works. Then Betty thinks that everything is worth $130,000. Carla, it's $123,000. I realize that this is just copying down the stuff from above, but I find it's easier to help. At least it helps me. Okay, so let's see who got what. Art got the art. So the Picasso, which is worth $280,000. We'll talk about the logic here in a minute, but for now I'm just going to indicate what people got. So the stuff they got. Betty got the cabin. So I'll just put a C here for cabin. And Betty thought that the cabin would be worth $250,000. Carla got nothing. It's okay. Carla's going to be taken care of, don't worry. Dave got the Rolls Royce, which Dave thought was worth $52,000. Now, despite the fact that we just worked from top to bottom, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up from the bottom to the top now. So let's talk about all of what has just happened. Why won't it stay big? Apparently it doesn't want me to zoom in any further than this, so we're stuck with this. Okay, so we're going to go to the bottom here. We've got Dave. Dave got, or thinks that everything is, well, Dave thinks everything's worth $440,000, but he thinks that a fair share will be $110,000. So if Dave was a rational human being, I shouldn't say it that way. If Dave was a rational thinker, because we're all rational human beings, that is, we think, but we aren't all rational thinkers. Some of us are irrational. But if Dave thought rationally about it, he would be happy as long as he got either stuff or money worth a total of $110,000. Notice what he did get. He only got the Rolls Royce, which is only worth $52,000. So he deserves more money. So he should get $58,000. You might ask yourself, where is Dave going to get this $58,000? We're getting to that. But notice what I did here is I compared the fair share with the stuff, and if the stuff that the person gets is less than a fair share, then they better get some coin to go along with their stuff. Carla, similarly, she deserves $123,000 in her mind. She's getting nothing. So let's just give her $123,000 and call it a day. Don't worry, we're going to have the cash. We're going to have the cash to cover these expenses because we have yet to deal with Art and Betty. Notice Art. Art thinks that he should get $135,000, but he actually got something that he thinks is worth $280,000. Doesn't matter what other people think. He thinks it's worth $280,000. So because of that, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make him pay into the estate. So when you ask the question, where is this money coming from? It's coming from Art, because Art got way more than he deserved. In fact, you can do the math. Art got $145,000 more than he deserves. Now you might say, where did you get that number? Well, I got it by taking the Picasso, how much it was worth, and subtracting off the fair share. So you've got the Picasso minus the fair share that Art thinks. So this is all in Art's universe. It's like the multiverse. No, it isn't. It's more like you've just got different people and they have different opinions. So over here in Art land, the whole thing is worth $540,000. He should get $135,000. He got $280,000, so he owes someone $145,000. That's going to cover almost all of the money that we have to pay out. Almost done here. Betty got $130,000. No, she thinks she deserves $130,000, but she got the cabin, which to her is worth $250,000. And so she should have to pay $120,000. She owes $120,000. Now let's make some totals here. In every case, whenever you do this, well, I shouldn't say in every case. The only time this wouldn't happen is in the case where, would it ever? Yeah, I guess that you probably could come up with a contrived situation where no money is needed. But in most cases, there will be money that is paid into the estate. In this case, I'm adding these together. And money that is withdrawn. So think of this, that as Art and Betty, they pay into some escrow account. And then Carla and Dave make withdrawals. So let's see, this is going to be $181,000. I think we got that. We can put commas if we need to. So, but in every case, if you've done it right, so this is, once again, it's expecting a lot of you, but if you've done things right, the total that gets paid into the estate will be bigger or equal to the amount that goes out. And the reason for this is that we're giving each item to the person who values it the most, and so they have an inflated sense of what this is worth. Everyone else thinks it's worth less, and so that is going to take a bigger chunk out of their share than anyone else's. And so, it doesn't prove it, I guess, but hopefully you see why it is that you're always going to end up with more money coming in than going out at this stage. If you ever have a situation where this number is smaller than this, you've made a mistake. So now what we have to do is we have to compute the surplus. The surplus is the extra money. In this case, it's $265,000 minus $181,000, which happens to be $84,000. Conveniently, this is divisible by 4. It doesn't always work out this nicely, but since there's extra money, who gets the extra money? Well, you could give it to me, but to make things fair, let's just give each person 1/4. So divided by 4 gives you 210,000. We're almost there. Final thing is to just write down everything that you're going to give and get. So the final settlement, what's that?
You said 210,000 instead of
Oh, 21,000. Yeah, sorry. I wrote it right. I just couldn't. Yeah, it's time. It's time. Weekend. Come. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. Let's finish it up then. So Art, what did Art get? Art got the Picasso. Let's see. Minus. So you can do this one of two ways. You could do this minus 145 plus 21,000. But what that really means is that he ends up owing 124,000, which is 100. So he owes 145, but he gets kind of a refund, if you will, of 21,000. So in the net effect, we're going to look at the homework in a moment just to see how they're going to, because theirs is formatted a little differently than what I'm doing here. Mine's the best way. Homework, it's okay, but it's not great. Anyway, Betty, what does Betty get? Betty gets the cabin. But then she has to pay 120,000, but then gets a bonus or a refund of 21,000. So in the net effect is that she is going to owe $99,000. All right, Carla. Carla gets all cash. 123,000 plus 21,000. So Carla might be the happiest of the bunch because she clearly, it is clear, I hope it's clear to you, that Carla is getting what she thinks is more than a fair share. By the way, if this is done right, everyone should get more than what they think a fair share is. Just because of the difference in value systems and the fact that the Picasso, Art gets the Picasso, and he thinks it's worth way more than other people think, and so he ends up paying for it, and that money goes to everyone else. Okay, so that's what Carla gets, and then finally Dave. We're almost done with Dave, and then we'll be take a look at the homework and make sure we know what's going on. So let's see. Dave is going to get the Rolls Royce. Yeah, the Rolls Royce. Well, let's see. Then he's going to get 52,000. No, sorry, 58,000. And then get an additional 21,000 bonus. So he gets, let's see, 79. There it is. We're going to come back to Al and Betty in a minute. but I want to check on the homework, but I thought you just might, if you have a question about any of this, it is a lot to take in. There's a lot of moving parts here, but hopefully you kind of see where the mathematician is thinking about these people. So mathematicians are very interested in trying to make things fair and trying to deal with all the edge cases, if you will, like what could go wrong. And there's nothing that could go wrong as long as people are rational and they say, you know, that these things do have values, then for sure every single person, no matter what the situation is going to get what they think is a fair share and then a little bit more. Every one of them is going to get a little more than a fair share. And then the mathematician's job is to prove that that's the case. We're not going to prove it. We're just going to look and say, oh, it does make sense. That's good enough. All right, I'm going to take a peek at the homework, then we're going to come back to Al and Betty. So give me a sec here, grab the homework. It's here somewhere. Is that it? It's right there. Give me a sec here. There it is. Look, there's no homework beyond. No, don't worry. This weekend I'll be adding more junk to the homework list.
You don't have to.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, darn, this one, okay, you can ignore all that. Is this, it's all on the same page. Did I offend her? Oh, well. Okay, I just wanted to see how this is worked. So, okay. So let's see if I can do this one. It's similar, only there's 2 items instead of 3 items. So original fair share for A. So they're not, yeah.
You were gonna check the date for it.
Is the date bad?
December the 19th, 2022.
Why?
I don't know.
I'll fix that in a minute. Oh, you want me to fix it now so that you can actually do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a sec. Let me just get rid of this stuff. You don't need that. Where's the date? It's here somewhere. There it is. Oh, why is it due 2022? Nobody knows. You want it to be due Monday.
Thanks, Logan.
Yeah, I appreciate your helping us.
We were planning to angle
I don't know.
on stuff for us.
Okay. All right, you refresh and see if it looks right. No, it works? Okay, let me preview it myself. Okay, look, I've got a different problem now. It's similar though. Okay, so just so you know, I want to make sure that the language makes sense. Original fair share of A, what that's referring to is when you add these together, we get 500. The fair share is 1/4 because there's 4 people. By the way, if there were 5 people, it would be 1/5 of the money. If there were 3 people, it would be 1/3. So just so you know, it's just because there are 4 this time, just like there were on the example I had, doesn't mean it's always going to be 4. So take 500 divided by 4, at least for me, and I get 125. So that's great. Now we're going to have to go through the whole allocation business. So what does this person get? It looks like they're not going to get the desk because B is going to get the desk, but they are going to get the vanity. Whoever A is gets the vanity. I don't know why they would want the vanity, but there it is. Maybe it's sentimental value. And then has to pay to the state. So notice that since A is getting the vanity is worth 200. A thinks that they should only get 125, and so they're going to have to pay the estate an additional $75. Now this, after all is said and done, refers to the end, sort of at the very end. I'll show you in a minute what I mean, but it's the very end. And this is the final allocation. So I guess that you're going to have to add those numbers together that I have here. So the stuff I have in parentheses, you've got to do that to figure out what each person owes or gets. And notice that with part A, or the first part, you could get away with only thinking about person A. But this last part, you're going to have to think about everybody. So you're going to have to worry about everyone to do that last question. So I'm not going to do this whole thing. I just wanted to double check that you could understand how things are going to look so that it doesn't throw you when you actually get to it, because it looks a little bit different from what we did. But if you do it with a table, you should be okay. All right, we've got time to do this last one. This one's a quickie because there's only 2 people and 1 item. So let's go back to our example page that I gave you. So we have 2 people, Al and Betty, and they're dividing up a house. There's a single house, and that's it. That's all their parents left them. The house was completely empty. So we want to know what each person's fair dollar share is, who gets to keep the house. They both want the house, by the way. That's, I guess, we can assume. Anyway, so let's go ahead and see if you can do this. Let me just get you started. Al thinks that his fair share would be $170,000 because that's half of what he thinks the house is worth. So remember, there's only 1 item, and that's the house. So do the, time to go. Do the thing for Betty. I'll find a volunteer here. Wow, my volunteer isn't even here. Dylan's here, though. Dylan, what do you think about Betty's fair share? Yeah, divide it by 2. Yeah, 182. Very good. 182,000. And it's because Betty thinks that the entire thing, which the only one thing there, it's the house, is worth 364, so 182. Okay, who gets to keep the house? So that's the next question. Where are we? We're up to Lucas. Lucas, who's keeping the house? All right. So we have this, Betty is getting the house. And so what else does this mean? I don't know why I have that question there. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess Al's going to be homeless. So, all right. Okay, so let's see. What do we have for Betty? So how much does Betty owe the estate? So let's find a volunteer here. Logan, what do you think? How much do you think Betty is going to owe the estate? Oh, typing away. 100 and, what was that again? 58. You sure about that? This is Betty. $182. That's exactly what Betty's fair share is, and it turns out it's how much she owes. Because she got the entire house, she thought she only deserved $182,000, so she owes $182,000. Of this, how much is going to Al? You probably can figure it out without doing anything on your calculator, but you can use your calculator if you want to. Kaden, what do you think? How much does Al get? So Al gets nothing, but he should get what his fair share is. Yeah, 170,000, right? 170,000, because that's Al's fair share. Okay, surplus. Where's the surplus? Who's next? Ethan Klein is not here to help us. Lily is here. Lily, how much surplus do you have? So Betty has to pay. Betty pays 182,000, but then Al withdraws 170,000. So what's the difference? This one's 12,000. Very good. 12,000. That's the extra money. So how much does do each of those people get? So Ethan McCabe, how much do each of those people get?
6,000.
Yeah, 6,000. There's two people. We're going to divide it up evenly. And now we just have to write down the final settlement, which is Al gets 176. Betty gets the house and then pays 176,000. You can do the math. 182 minus 6,000 is, it's 176,000. That wasn't too bad, was it? Okay, so we're done. So do you have any other concerns, questions, worries, fears? We're just going to pack it in. Go enjoy the weekend, and hopefully I'll have my quizzes all graded by Monday so I can collect them.